Okay, we are on. Hi everyone, welcome to another High Masterclass, this time for our High Masterclass number 46. And today we have our veteran, Pedro Oliveira. He is here with us to talk about tips to make interfaces truly accessible. Hi Pedro, how are you?
Hello, everybody. How are you?
and he's here today to talk about this topic that we have been covered for the past months, and that is really, really important for us here at iInteractive. And before we start, let me ask you, as I do always, to drop us a like, give us a follow on our YouTube channel. We would appreciate that. We are on a journey to make more content like this, and we have a lot of this content coming up for you soon. So uh, let's start with the article that Pedro has wrote. You can scan it on the QR code, and you have it on the description of this video as well. It is like a full guide for this presentation that Pedro is about to make. And yeah, without further to add, let me ask you, Pedro, before you start your
Yeah.
presentation, how do you feel like what's the importance of this topic and why we are doing this masterclass?
Yes. Uh, Let me answer that by telling you all a quick story that I hope will inspire you, taking more, um, taking in consideration accessibility in the future for everything you do. So, a couple of years ago, around 14 years ago, I was in a project. I was doing the front end of a project. It was for an institution with information about the Portuguese heritage in the world. So lots of images, lots of text, a lot of information. And the client asked me to take in consideration accessibility, but didn't gave me any specifics on that. So by that time, I had some knowledge on accessibility. I took that in consideration, but then when I finished the project, the client sent a blind person to the office to try to use the website while I was watching and give me some feedback. So when that person arrived and started using the website, he was completely blind and 100%. So it was I was looking at what he was doing, and I was totally amazed because it was a completely new experience for me. I never had the opportunity of seeing someone with this type of a challenge, and I was completely mind blown. And I was thinking, okay, if it was me, I couldn't use these websites at all. But luckily, he was able to use the website more or less. It gave me some feedback. I had the opportunity of performing some fixes, and in the end, the website was much better than it was before this feedback from this person. So it was a 100% eye-opening for me, and from that point on, I was able to be on this type of disabilities. I was able to be on the shoes of people with these kinds of challenge, and it completely changed the way I look at the accessibility needs. So for me, accessibility really means that every person deserves to have the best experience possible while using an application or a website. This is for me what I truly believe that accessibility means. Okay, no matter the disability or difficulty that someone could have, that person should have the possibility of using a website the best way possible. And we are talking not just about blindness, we are talking about people with reduced mobility, low vision problems, a person that could be deaf. It's also a huge challenge, because let's say that you have videos explaining something. So if you don't give that person, if you don't have the ability of the person to see some subtitles for the video, it it doesn't going to learn anything. Okay, so this is huge. So taking this in consideration, what I feel like is that the technology, or if I'm programming in a specific language, that technology or language should not be at any time an excuse for me to say that no, I'm not going to take in consideration accessibility. No, accessibility is always important, no matter the technology or the type of application we are developing. If it's an application to insert my timesheets, okay, it's because I'm going to use it only in my professional hours. So it's not something that is going to the outside public, but nevertheless, okay, it should be accessible, because I should. So there are people that have low visibility problems, and they sometimes need to perform some zoom in the applications. And if I didn't take that in consideration while I was developing the website, performing a zoom in the browser could mean that the submit button is going to be hidden in the screen. And if I cannot access the submit button, if I don't see a submit button, I'm not going to be able to submit my form or my timesheets, for example. So it is important, no matter the type of application, the audience, the technology. This is quite important. So always take in consideration accessibility, no matter what. So how can we ensure accessibility? We could be here for hours talking about it, because luckily today we have a lot of different ways to ensure accessibility, and we have more powerful browsers that assist on this type of things. But let's take this example as a starting point for what we have left on our for our presentation. So the example is that we want to have a customized pop-up using only CSS. Okay, we want to build from the ground a pop-up where we want to display a confirmation message, let's say for a delete action. Okay, so let's say that we have a list of products and I have a delete button for that product, and obviously I want to confirm with the user that, okay, do you really want to delete it or not? So I want to show this in a pop-up. So what we can do is, first, naturally, we need a trigger for the pop-up. So for that, I'm going to show you very quickly. I'm not going to into too much detail doing HTML or CSS or nothing like that, but just to be easier to understand. So we can create a button, okay, and within this button, let's say delete product. Okay, let's say that now that we have our button, okay, we want to start to think about accessibility. So we are going to start doing that by adding some ARIA attributes to the button that is going to help the screen readers to understand what the button is and what the button is going to do, right? We are going to give some context to this button. So to do that, for example, we can start by having the ARIA as pop-up attribute. And as you can see here, we have a lot of options to go with. And this ARIA has pop-up attribute. What is going to say to the screen reader is that the click action in this button is going to somehow show a pop-up on the screen. So I'm not going too much deeper in all the options that we have here on the screen, but for what we want to achieve, the best option is dialog. All right. So this is going to tell the screen reader that a dialog is going to appear on the screen. So next, what we can do, or what we should do, is to associate this button to the pop-up element, the HTML element with the pop-up. And to do that, we use the ARIA controls, and we pass out the ID of the element, let's say overlay ID or pop-up ID. Okay. So with this, we are creating an association between the pop-up and the model. Okay. So the second thing we should do is start dealing with the mobile itself. So we are going to create the element, the pop-up. Let's simplify things, of course. We can give it a class and an ID. And the ID, basically, we can use the same as we wrote before for the button. Okay. Then let's say that we have an heading, and heading 3, for example. Okay. And then we have some kind of content, right? So the next logical step, as we did for the button, is start now that we have our structure, as simple as it could be, we are going to start dealing with the accessibility, right? So for that, we have area attributes and roles that are going to help the screen reader to understand what's in the screen and help the users to also understand what's in the screen. So we can start by saying that this element is the dialog. Okay, again, this is going to be very useful for the screen reader, and there are a lot of other roles that we can use, but for the example that we are seeing, we are going to use the dialog, right? So after this, we should use the ARIA labeled by or the ARIA label. The difference between these two is that the ARIA label is more useful if we have some kind of overlays that doesn't have a visible title. Okay. For example, if our overlay is a tooltip, and usually tooltips don't need titles, because let's say that we have a form with a label and an input, and we want to show a message explaining what that input is. So usually what happens is the user hovers an info icon and it will display a simple text. So we don't always need a title. But what for me it's so obvious that I'm hovering a label and I'm seeing a message for example, for a blind person, that is not obvious because he cannot see what's in the screen. So in these type of scenarios, if we use ARIA label with the title for the pop-up or the tooltip, this title is going to be read by the screen reader, right? But if we don't want to use a title, we have the label by attribute. And the label by attribute receives an ID of another element on the screen, okay? And it's going to read the content of that element. Okay, so let's say that we have this element ID, for example. So that's the difference, all right? And then we can also have the ARIA description. Description. Okay. And here we can type a small description telling what the pop-up is. Okay. and it's going to be very useful. In a couple of minutes, you are going to understand why could be very useful. Okay. So now that we have the elements and the attributes, the next logical step is to allow interaction, allow the user to interact with the pop-up. Okay, so the first thing we should do is to, well, not 100% of the times, but I would say like 99% of the times, we should focus we should set the focus on inside the pop-up. Okay, because if you want to navigate in the content that is inside the pop-up using the keyboard, okay, you click on the button to delete, you hit enter, and then you can start navigation using the arrow keys or the tab key. Okay, and if you are already inside the pop-up, it's going to be very easy for you to navigate. Okay. So we can do that using, for example, JavaScript, the focus method, to put the focus inside the pop-up. And the next interaction that we need, despite we have the cancel button or the submit button, we need a way out of this pop-up. Okay, if I don't want to hit cancel or submit, I need to give a way out, a easy way out to the user, right? So for that, we can, for example, create we can create associate, for example, the escape key to close the our pop-up, for example. Okay. So this information that, hey, user, if you hit escape, you can very easily cancel what we are doing, close the pop-up, and go back to the screen. So this information is very useful. So we can have this information in the description of our pop-up. So when the screen reader opens the pop-up, it will immediately inform the user that, hey, if you want to cancel, if you want to close this, hit escape. So it's going to be very easy, because for us, we are seeing an X on the corner of the pop-up, and we can go with the mouse and click on the escape. But for someone that has difficulties reading or is blind, they are not going to see the close button. Okay, so we are helping, we are thinking, we are trying to solve these little issues and make the user much life easier. All right. So if we now that we have all these elements covered, we can also going like the extra mile. And for example, there's a very useful attribute called ARIA Live. Okay, that basically is going to inform the user that something changed on the screen. Okay, something like if we have ARIA Live like this, we have three. Let me see if this is not showing. Well, that doesn't matter. It basically will tell the screen reader what to do when this element is visible on the screen. So if the screen reader is reading something, I can say, you are not going to stop what we are doing. You don't do anything. Or I can say, you stop immediately what you are reading and inform the user. Or I can say, you wait to finish reading what you are reading, and after you finish, you inform the user that something happened. Let's say this is quite useful. Let's say that you are in a website and you receive a notification, for example, that the product you just ordered is now being packaged to send to your home, for example, or the credit card was read and it's everything okay, and the package is being prepared. So you receive, I can see a notification that a blind person cannot see. So in this situation, I can decide what the screen reader should do. So it's also quite useful. You don't need these all the times, obviously, but it's very, very useful. Okay. Let me just share with you something else that is also quite important. And very recently, I finally understand why. It was like an enlightenment for me. So we always heard that, hey, you need to have a structured page. You need to use the tag heading 1, heading 2. You need to have a section tag. You need to use the footer, the heading tag, the content tag. Okay, the HTML of your page needs to be structured for accessibility or usability reasons. And we heard these and we just follow these. And sometimes we don't know why specifically. But what I'm going to say to you is going to be, and again, an eye opener for you. It was for me. I finally understand why. Because screen readers have the ability, for example, if I'm blind, I can ask a screen reader to only read the headings in the page. I don't want to read everything. I just want to read the headings and jump right into that heading without going through the entire page. Okay? Or so if we have our page well structured, again, we are making life easier for people with disabilities. So that's why this is the real reason, for me at least, this is the real reason why we should have a well-structured HTML. Okay? So it's not that difficult. It's actually very easy to ensure accessibility, right? And luckily, today we have a lot of testing mechanisms to test what we are doing. Okay, I'm going to share 3 different types of tools, but you have a lot more tools to use. You have a Google Chrome extension called Wave. Okay, it's going to test the screen where you're at. It's going to give you some feedback about color issues, things like you have an input without a label associated, those kind of things. You can also use another plugin of Google that is going to add an extra tab to the developer tools of Chrome with a lot of more information than Wave. Okay, go out there and explore this. Then also you have Access Monitor, which is a Portuguese website and can generate you a report based on WCAG rules. So the cool thing here with Access Monitor is that if you have the HTML, if you don't have a link, for example, if you have the HTML, you can give the HTML code to Access Monitor, and it will analyze it for you and create a huge report with huge amounts of feedback for you. Okay, so it's easy to test, and it's not that difficult to ensure. Okay, so to wrap things up, basically, again, accessibility is about ensuring that anyone can use and also enjoy our website or our product or our application. Okay, of course, here we are talking about the digital world, naturally. So this is what accessibility is. right? It's all about inclusivity and deliver or create a good experience. Okay, for everybody, doesn't matter. And on top of everything, accessibility is not the same thing as usability, and a lot of times there is confusion about what is accessibility, what is usability. We can have we can stay here hours talking about this, but despite it, they are different things. They like each other. They live with each other. Okay, ensuring accessibility is not enough. We need to ensure accessibility and also usability. And sometimes usability and accessibility they touch each other. Okay, so don't forget also usability, of course. So again, as you can see, it's not difficult to ensure that everybody can use our website. And yeah, my goal here was basically to not going too deeper into how to use ARIA or role attributes. My goal here was to inspire you to think more about accessibility in the future if you are not doing that already. So that was the goal for me, and I hope most of you that are seeing this in your day or in this video more inspired on use and ensuring accessibility. So
Yeah.
thank you for your time.
And thank you, Pedro, for the presentation. I'm really, really sure people got really inspired, as you said, on this presentation. It was great. It was you brought really good insights on this topic that I think that should be covered more on our industry, and like this is like a beginner's guide, but it is really, really, really important when you are developing things, minding inclusivity and
Yeah,
accessibility and the
sure.
topics that you covered. So
Yeah, and nowadays we have, at least here in Europe, we have new rules that
yeah,
are being required for the companies to follow, and I guess that for some situations, the government funding may depend on that those companies following those rules. So that's why more recently we are hearing these accessibility needs. Yeah.
yeah,
So, but
for
despite
sure.
that, even if I don't have any kind of funding, please, guys, think about accessibility because it's
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah, it's really, really important. And
Yeah, it is.
yeah, with that, with this presentation done, I would also like to talk again about this because I think it is also
Yes,
important
for
that
sure.
Pedro has wrote an article about this. It is really, really detailed on this topic, and I'm sure you will benefit for checking it out. And please sure to do so. You have it on the description of this video. And yeah, Pedro, thanks a lot to the ones that stood by till the end and watched this video. We are back next month with another high masterclass. And
Mhm.
without further to add, thank you all. See you on the next one. And bye bye. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.